What is wrong with this thing? Recording? Welcome back, guys. We're here for another round of Mobility Minute. This week, we're gonna focus on slowing it down. We're gonna just focus on some recovery and get a little bit of relief this week rather than trying to kind of push for more range of motion, more mobility. So we're gonna focus on the lower back and the hips, and this is gonna be a recovery session. So if you're feeling a little stiff, a little achy, a little sore, in the hips, the lower back, that's what this is gonna be geared for. So all you need is some wall space today, maybe a mat on the floor, and if you're ready, we'll get started. All right, so a little bit of wall space, mat right up against the wall. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lay on our back and we're gonna throw our feet up the wall. Put us in a nice hip flex position. How I like to do this is get on your side first and then kind of booty scoot your way. That way you can get your butt all the way against the wall and then just roll to your back. Get a little shimmy if you need to. From here, we're just gonna separate the legs and get a nice adductor stretch. Most people's adductors are super, super tight. We do use them a lot in CrossFit. However, we never take them through a full range of motion. We never take our legs wide, and you may notice that, right? We always squat, we always deadlift. Our feet are pretty narrow. Our stance is pretty narrow for both of those things. We never really take it out wide, and so our adductors get a lot of good work because they can act as hip flexors and hip extensors if we're in the opposing position. But they never go through length. They never get kind of stretched or work towards their end range of motion. So people's adductors can become really tight, and that can start to pull on the pelvis and not let the pelvis rotate over the legs, because that kind of rotation is either hip flexion or hip extension. It's just that the legs would be fixed. So stretching out the adductors can actually provide a lot of relief for people, especially if they are feeling tight in the hips and the lower back. It just helps relieve some of the pull on the pelvis. So we're just gonna stretch today. We're just gonna hit about a minute for each stretch today. You can extend this out if you would like. If you'd like to do more than a minute, feel free. I think once you get the sequence down, you're free to hold these stretches as long as you want. But just a nice stretch for the adductors. Once you're here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to roll the feet in and then out. And this just incorporates a little bit of movement. You may find it's kind of hard to do. I want you to try to roll at the legs, right? So rather than just moving the feet, we're gonna roll the knees in and then roll the knees out. You may find that's kind of hard to do. And it changes the stretch. So for me, when I roll those knees out really hard, I really feel it a little bit closer to my knee. It can be a pretty intense stretch. Good. We'll bring the legs together. And now we'll start getting into the hips and the lower back. What we're going to do is we're going to cross one leg over the other. So you'll get a nice figure four position. And then we're going to take both legs, and whatever leg is straight, we're going to go to that side. So I'm going to drop both legs over to the left. At the same time, I'm trying to keep my shoulders on the floor. Depending on where you're tight, you may feel this in your booty cheek and like your hip. You may feel this in your lower back. Same thing here, we're just going to breathe. I am trying to keep this foot on the ground. So this whole leg's on the ground, this foot's on the ground. My booty's still against the wall, my shoulders are on the floor. And we'll just take a few breaths here. Just try to relax into that. You can play with the position of this knee, so you can push it away, and you might feel that more in your lower back, or you can hug it in close, and you might feel that more in your hip. And you can just move through that. Just keep pushing and pulling on that knee. Help open up the hip. The nice thing about static stretching is you can kind of make it what you want. You could just lay here and breathe and just try to relax. Let go of all the tension in your body. Or you can move the limbs. I can also get a little air guitar from here. So I can start layering in some T-spine rotation. It's not going to be as intense as our T-spine mobility, but I could just incorporate some movement. Motion is lotion, right? Get a few more here and then we'll switch. All right, we'll uncross, walk the legs back up. I'm gonna shimmy over so the dumbbells. And then we'll do the same thing. So this time, other leg, ankle over knee, and then just take both of them to the side, trying to keep this shoulder down. And then we can just breathe from here. Nice deep breaths. Again, you may feel it differently side to side. On this side, I feel a little more in my lower back than I did on the other side. The other side, I felt more in my hip. And just take note of that. Same thing, you can play with the knee, push, pull. Ugh, that feels amazing on my lower back. And then as you pull, I feel this more in my hip. No right or wrong answer, right? If it feels stiff, if it feels tight, that's all we're trying to do is just decrease that sensation, open up range of motion, help recovery. Stretching has been shown to be good for recovery. It can reduce soreness and help with delayed onset muscle soreness. There's also a lot of good studies that show that stretching can help with vascularity, angiogenesis, so the formation of new blood vessels. So it is a good way to recover. Just promote circulation, blood flow. We'll get some T-spine rotations. Because why not, right? This is a great, just passive kind of recovery session between workouts, after workouts. You could do it before if you needed to loosen up your lower back, loosen up the hips maybe. Nothing wrong with that. But it is meant to be a little more restorative, so a little more about recovery. Okay, now some other things we could do if you wanted to. We could do a butterfly and then push the knees, right? We already hit the adductors. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna shimmy away from the wall. And I wanna put myself in a position where I can achieve about 90 degrees at my knee and 90 degrees at my hip. And now I'm gonna take my leg and I'm gonna cross it over again. This time I'm gonna focus on my hip. So I'm not getting into the lower back as much. I'm gonna drop the foot down to bring that knee into flexion. That's gonna push this foot towards my chest. And now I've got a really nice passive stretch for my glute and my piriformis and all those external rotators of the hip. And I'm just gonna relax here. And I can push this knee away and pull the foot close to really stress that external rotation, or I can hug the knee in, and I may feel that more in my glute, get more into hip flexion. It's up to you. But this just gives me some nice leverage, similar to our pigeon stretch that we did a few weeks ago, but probably not as aggressive, a little more passive, and I can control how much stretch I get via this leg, this foot. So if I want deeper stretch, I'll bring that foot down, bring the knee closer. If I need a lighter stretch, then I'll let that foot stay a little bit higher on the wall. We're just gonna hold here. A few big deep breaths. And then we can add some movement. We're gonna go hands out like a T, and we're gonna rock side to side. So I'm gonna keep my foot on the wall and drop the foot to one side. You probably won't touch the floor, that's okay. And then we'll come back the other way. And I am keeping my foot on the wall because I want the other hip to rotate. Make sure you're breathing through here. Just get a few rounds of that. Just a nice tractioning for the SI joint, kind of moving it through different forces, different lines of stretch there. And then we'll switch the other side, cross the leg over, drop the foot down. Woo, this side's not happy. And then same thing, push, pull that knee. keeping it light today. Keeping it light. Nice recovery session. Nothing too crazy. When you're ready, you can rock side to side. Same thing. Oh, that feels good on the back. Oh man. My left side is unwell. Right side's no problem. Left side's unwell. I gotta work on that. No need to push the limit here. We're just kind of rocking side to side, letting that leg move through that range of motion, the hips. You'll feel that your hips kind of swivel as you do this. That's the goal. We want to traction that lower back. And this is just a really nice way to do that. Woo! Check the legs out. And not bad. Super easy, super quick, just something a little restorative to get the hips moving again and bring some relief to the lower back. So let me know how you like this one, if you like the more passive stuff or if you want to go back to the more active stuff.